그럼 지금부터 제7회 디지털 이코노미 포럼의 첫 번째 세션을 시작하겠습니다. 첫 번째 강연인 기조연설로 포럼을 열어주실 분을 소개해 드릴 텐데요. 바로 구글 클라우드 아시아 태평양 지역 디렉터 크레이그 스토스님이 되겠습니다. AI와 AI에 의한 미래라는 주제로 오늘 발표를 진행해 주실 크레이그 스토스님 무대로 모십니다. 큰 박수로 환영해 주십시오.
Thank you. And just to echo the remarks earlier, thank you so much for coming and spending your time today. I'm extremely passionate about AI. I've actually been fortunate to be in this space for a long time. It's gone through a couple different namings, from machine learning through neural networks to AI, and have been in the industry for about 25 years. It's changed a huge amount in the last 2 years. And so I want to share with you some of the changes that we're seeing, the impact of those, and maybe how you can think about how AI is going to be impactful in the future and how to prepare for it. So if we go back a year ago, like not 10 years ago, 1 year ago, 18 months ago, we were talking about prompt engineering. We're talking about chat. We now have people who are able to put ideas into text and create new videos and create images. And this is the pace of innovation is extremely fast. It's hard to imagine a year from now or 2 or 3 years from now how much more we're going to have these advancements. So I think we're all being humbled by the pace of change within AI, but there's a lot of opportunity that comes with this. So having been in the IT space for a long time, and maybe there's a number of people here who also have been in this space for a bit, we've seen all of these major shifts. And each of the shifts at the beginning of it, it felt like it was big and a change, but it fundamentally transformed the world that we live in. With the advent of the internet, it's hard to think about a world without internet now. It's hard to imagine it. It's hard to imagine a world where we're not on smartphones, right? And these are things that have happened within a relatively short amount of time. I believe that AI is going to be, while there's still early stages of development, I think AI will represent a fundamental shift in how we think about the industries and we think about the experiences that we have. I think it will be that big. You may have seen that there was a Nobel Prize, and this was just referred to, a Nobel Prize in protein folding. For those who are not deep in the science of it, I'll just share why this matters and why a Nobel Prize mattered in this space and why it would not have been possible without artificial intelligence. The Google DeepMind team used AI to do protein folding to be able to look and understand every protein in the human body. It is as impactful as MRIs were for being able to understand everything that's the fluids moving within a body and soft tissue, as important as X-rays were to be able to look inside a body without having to go through invasive procedures. We now are able, within a period of time, AI was able to simulate and reconstruct every protein for personalized medicine. I personally have been, this is not just for the human body, I personally have worked with crop science institutes looking at diseases that are going to be endemic and could affect, say, the stability of crops in places that have very delicate ecosystems, being able to get in front and create very specialized pesticides and controls for those diseases. So it's a really significant shift forward in our understanding of human and organics. We have, in the last several months, a number of countries across Asia, across Europe, in North America have had devastating impact through flooding. And for all those who've been affected, obviously our thoughts are with them. We do have now technology for New Zealand that has been rolled out where having a 7-day lead time for unexpected weather events to be able to look at the impact of current water supply, floodplains where they have not had, say, a 100-year event, which is normally how we look at flooding, being able to look beyond those parameters and estimate where flooding may happen. Being able to use AI to now put this into more and more conditions where we can prevent some of the human tragedies that we've had, there's also a lot of potential for us to do great things in this space. So again, other projects that have come from the Google DeepMind team. And these are on the things that are going to be on the positive side from, I'll just say, for us, right, as humans. From a commercial standpoint, there's going to be a really significant change that we expect. The estimations are in the next couple of years that about $7 trillion will be added into the economy, net new, based on artificial intelligence. For context, this is larger than the GDP for Japan. It's larger than GDP for Germany. So it's a significant addition into the businesses. And you can see here there's some of these industries are going to have disproportionate value that's added to them. If we look within the context of South Korea obviously being a massive powerhouse as it relates to high-tech manufacturing. Again, the shifts moving beyond just text creation or video creation. It's the ability to understand and process video and image data. So understanding the context of the world that we're in. Visual inspection we've had a multiple effect on the quality and the depth of video analytics. So if we look across quality control, so being able to look for slight defects. As an example, there was a project that I worked on about a year ago for medical supplies. And if you know, in an IV bag, it is incredibly important to not have any foreign material, no matter how small, that's inside of the bag that can go through the IV and into the person. So being able to use visual inspection to find things that human eyes were having a hard time finding before. So where you had, say, transparent material that was inside, being able to detect that using different, basically light wavelengths and doing analysis. So there's significant changes that are happening across the visual space, automation, the process automation, and looking for ways to continue to evolve that process. So visual inspection, if we look at where is AI moving to, we've talked about conversational aspects. We've talked about the image and the video aspects. But I think what will make AI so interesting is the ability to bring together the context for, say, a machine to be able to understand and interpret the world the way that we do. So there's a project that Google is working on called Project Astra. And what Astra is doing is looking at the next range of beyond typing something in, beyond sending an image in, being able in real time for the machine to be able to interpret the world around us and to make sense out of it. So I'll share with you what that looks like.
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AES-CBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
All right, give me a band name for this duo.
Golden Stripes.
Nice. Thanks, Gemini.
So for those who haven't seen that before, I remember the first time seeing it, I had this sense of like, oh my goodness, like we're definitely entering into something new and exciting. let me unpack a little bit what you just saw in the video and why this is more than just being able to send in, say, multimodality or long context prompts. If you looked at latency, that's the real situation, or that's the real environment. So being able to get sub-second conversational responses with an agent. But the agent kept context with the world. So when she asked, like, where did you see my glasses? It's able in real time to go and understand streaming video, being able to interpret that, look at the context, not only know what glasses are, but to be able to know, like, it was a desk, it was near apples. Those are things that are very similar to how we think about the world, right? If you were to ask a person that sort of conversational response, that's very different than what we had, say, even a year ago, right? Or 6 months ago. So other things, multimodality, being able to answer complex and different questions. Give me recommendations on coding. Give me creative recommendations. Be able to have abstract ideas like drawings and the box with Schrodinger's cat. So having a single agent that is interpreting the world in real time, having conversations with people in real time, and able to solve problems across a diverse set of surfaces. We're still at very early stages of this, right? And so I think this is just a window into the capabilities that we're going to expect to see that will feel normal when I sit with you again 12 months from now. This will feel like something it's like, oh, like live agents, we've already seen this. Things that are able to understand the world. That's how fast I think this space is moving. So let's talk about agents. I'd say probably every conversation that I'm having now with our customers is about agents. So again, that conversation that you may have had or the research that you've been doing has probably largely been focused on models. Like, is GPT good? Is Gemini good? Is Anthropic good? Like, they're all good. Like, there's a ton of smart people who are investing in building great models. And the model conversation is the foundation. But there's more to that stack. There's specialized hardware that's needed. And this is where the cloud ends up democratizing the access to into AI. Because it's hard for every business to build their own custom infrastructure. So having access to the infra, having access to models and the platform that can run them. But the next part of the conversation is, so what? How do we take those agents and turn them into business applications? So where the domain is evolving very quickly is customer agents. That ability for a company or a government organization to be able to have real 24/7 conversations, not just Q&A, but problem solving. So we now see, as a contact center example, contact centers are now having up to 85% of all problems fully resolved at the AI level. So that's not just being able to answer something out of the Q&A, let's say for a phone company, that's reissuing phones, that's solving fraud disputes, that's resolving billing disputes. So the deep integration into the business, we're now getting to high levels of automation. And what we're finding is that not people like me who have gray in my beard, but the younger people prefer having conversations with an AI agent rather than needing to explain things to a human. So we not only have technological shifts that are happening, but we're having cultural shifts. And so the customer agent is a really transformative thing that will change in our businesses. The second is employee agents. Now, there's talk, and many of you probably will have your own perspective on this, but what jobs will change, what jobs will go away, what jobs will be created. I think there's a lot of unknowns that will happen in this space. But what we're seeing happening today is that the augmentation, the adding of capability to people who are sitting in seat, that's changing very quickly. So using AI to do research, please go out and give me information about these 50 PDFs, summarize them for me, tell me what's important, and give me the references. That's something that would have been really painful to do. And so research is something that's moving very quickly, internal research. Employee agents around communication, sharing. We now have virtual agents that can sit in on meetings, take notes, give summaries and action items, and to basically sit on your behalf and explain what's happened in meetings. I really wish I'd had that as I was growing up through my career, but we have it now. So employee agents, creative agents, the ability to, we're now seeing the ability to go from a trend that happens in the market. Let's say that there's some very cute thing that happens with a kid and a cat and it goes viral. Using a prompt to say, create me a concept that would be related to my brand about this trend. Create video, so create the copy, create the video. There's tools that YouTube releases that do scoring of video to look for engagement. You can now push the video through those scoring tools and automate within about 2 hours from when something is happening in the outside world to creating highly personalized content for people that has been scored for engagement through video and be able to push that out to market. It can happen in the morning, and by midday, your businesses are talking to their consumers. Like, that's a very huge change from the creative perspective. And it goes on through the data agents, using coding agents. Many of you who maybe have worked with people in the IT space, we're now seeing, like Google just announced that about 25% of all new code is now written by our AI tools. And then security agents, there's a lot of bad actors, and I will talk about some of the risks that we have in this space. There's a lot of bad actors. And so using AI to look around corners that humans they've been too slow to look around those corners, now using those security agents to go and look for the bad actors. So with all the great things, and there's a huge amount of excitement around AI, there are things that we want to be really thoughtful about. And there's risks that do come with this. And it's a space that I think is very important for us to understand and kind of have the right conversations around, are we thinking about protecting the right things? We think that it comes down to 3 main categories. One of them is around trust. Do we trust these AI agents? Do we have reason to trust the AI agents? The second is, as we deploy AI, are we doing it responsibly? Are we doing it for the right reasons? And have we put the right controls around it? And that takes us to the last part, which is governance. Does the regulatory framework make sense? Do internal compliance make sense? Do we have the controls around the AI so that we're building it to do what we want it to do, and we can limit the unintended consequences? So I think this is the space that's worth us going a little bit deeper on. Share at least how Google thinks about building AI. I know some of this text might be a little bit small, but this is something that we have these conversations when we talk to customers about what we will and we will not do, and we ask them to consider using similar frameworks as they deploy AI, because it is a huge and developing space. So without going through all of these, and some of these are very specific to how Google thinks about AI, but it's using it for purposes that overall will be beneficial. So are we putting it in a way where it is going to have a net positive impact, and that has a number of different elements to it? And have we built and tested for safety? So this is overall, like, can we mitigate harm? Can we think about reducing bias? Can we make sure that there's transparency in how we've built and how we report on what the AI is doing? And do we have the controls that are in place so that we can have that accountable to the people who have built it? So there's some privacy commitments that we commit to, and I think these are important for any provider of AI to make sure that they're offering the same guarantees, and something that I think we should all expect is that big companies should not own the data of the people who are using it. They should be the tools to enable the people. And so not using customer data, not using citizen data that has not been given without permission or has not been made public to begin with. Not monetizing that data without the permission of the people whose data that it is. And I know the data privacy laws in Korea are very much in the protection of citizens, so making sure that that is respected. And only using the data that the company either produces or gets through that is public, or has made commercial agreements to buy it where there's consent to use that for the training and improvement of the models. What I have found, again, there are a few very large AI providers and a lot of growing startups. The larger AI providers have more experience in the space of providing trust and safety. Some of the newer providers are moving very fast, and they have not built the security and frameworks. So again, just to make sure that we're all looking at, like, asking the right questions, even when there's very new technology, has it been built with the safety and the guardrails? So there's a concept called grounding. And if there's anybody who's been to the States or who has been young, grounding when we were young meant that you can't leave the house when you were in trouble. This is a different kind of grounding. So grounding means grounding something in what we know to be true, right? So it's ensuring truthfulness is what grounding means. There are 3 different ways that you can ground these AI to not hallucinate, which is a crazy word when you think about this AI is creating truth and speaking on its own. Grounding brings that down so that the AI will only speak to things that are truthful. One is grounding using something like Google search. So Google's been in the business of search for a long time, curating and making sure the data is true from the web. So grounding with Google search is one. The second is using known sources of truthful data. So what would be called third-party data. You might pull this from news agencies, financial agencies, government agencies. So pulling in third-party data sources that you know to be true. And then the third is using your own data. So being able to tune models with what you know to be true about your business or your department, and being able to tune these models to only speak about things that are related to your business. I'll give one example here because, again, this is one when we worked with Airbnb. Everybody here familiar with Airbnb? For those who, maybe there's a local equivalent, but essentially Airbnb is, I have a house, I'm leaving, I want to rent my house out to somebody for a few days while I'm away. Now, previously, what Airbnb would do to settle disputes, let's say I leave my house and I have not done what I'm supposed to do, I haven't cleaned it, I haven't prepared it, I just walk away, the person comes in, this is terrible. So what do? They file a complaint. They take a couple pictures, they're very angry, they send something to Airbnb. I get a mail, I'm like, oh, that's not true. I go, I take some pictures, I submit them. And then there's a poor person who's sitting at Airbnb who's trying to figure out how do you resolve this dispute? So what they have implemented is, now when I leave, I can take a video of my house. I can just post that and say, I'm done, I've checked out. The person who comes in can take a video. It can do an assessment of the 2 videos. Is it the same house, same number of rooms? Are things in the state that I left them? The person sees them. But the important part is the grounding. What is the policy documents of Airbnb that it needs to compare the 2 videos and say, was policy complied with, or was there a breach of policy? So being able to do the video analytics, but grounding them in things that are very specific to truth. So this is the importance of grounding. So the AI agent can now give a recommendation and automate the majority of these claims. Intellectual property identification. Again, what at Google we think should be the baseline, that all providers should. At this time, we are the only organization that is offering identification, meaning because we know the source of our data, and we know that we have collected this data through fair means and through consent, we offer identification or legal protection for anybody who's using it, who's found to be, where there's legal action involving copyright. We will protect against that because we know the content of our models and we know how that's been trained. So again, looking to AI providers to provide that level of legal scrutiny on their own process, but also protection of the people who are using it. Providing tools. So this is, to this point we've talked about, is the AI being truthful? But what about people who have created content and put it out there? Are we able to protect ourselves and say, what is truthful and what's authentic? So we've released a set of tools that you can use, and these are free to use for everybody, to look for authenticity of images, and we're building towards authenticity of video. So looking, where has this come, where have you seen this before? Is this something that is a trusted image? It's shown up at other places, it has provenance. Or being able to look, is this a derivative form? Did somebody take something and modify or falsify that image and repost it? You might tell from my accent, I originally come from the US. Today is an extremely big day of news in the US. And so being able to look for falsified images and videos is a massive part of our maintaining truthfulness in the election process. Having explainable AI. We sometimes think about these AI agents as being these kind of black boxes. That's not okay. It's not good enough. We need to make sure that as decisions are being made, especially as we automate, we understand why. We're able to have it explained in the way that we think about solving those problems, so we can apply our own ethics, we can apply our own controls, our own governance. So ensuring that there is explainability that has been built into the AI models and the AI agents. We have an organization called PAIR, and I will talk about PAIR on the next slide. So PAIR is something that we offer, that we have built an organization around explainability and safety in AI. And if you have time, I encourage you to go and have some reading if this is a space that you're interested in. So the People and AI Research project that we have is dedicated just to looking into fairness, explainability. Do we have diversity, or is there bias in the data that's collected? And are we very clear on the data, on how that data is flowing through into agents? So knowing as we are collecting data and we're building these, what does this agent know? What should it know? Does it have misinformed ideas? So again, thinking that we are in control of this process and that we are making sure that we are building that human element into the creation of AI. South Korea is in a very strong position, and you heard earlier today about some of the policy changes and some of the commitments to being a leader in AI, but there are 4 things that I believe are significant advantages for this market to be successful. The technology foundations, the infrastructure is excellent here, and that's a high bar because I'm living in Singapore, which also has excellent infrastructure. And when I look at the South Korea, what you have from everything from telco and networking to business frameworks, the technology foundation is very robust. The second is you have large global technology leaders in country, as you know, right? So whether it's the Samsungs or the LGs, the long list of companies that are significant technology providers to the world. Educational systems, strong universities that are here, AI programs that have been built into all of them, right? So there's now AI programs and investment in people that is going to continue to generate the next generation of people who are strong in the AI space. And the last, I will not attempt to do this, but the last is the strong work ethic of people who are in Korea. And I've had the privilege of coming here for about 24, 25 years and have worked in, long time ago when I was a much younger guy, I was working on a project at Interpak, if you remember sort of in the day. They were really big in the e-com space and have had it in firsthand, have seen that the diligence and the work ethic in South Korea is kind of second to none. But it isn't just the foundations, it's the policy and the investments to move forward. So, of course, the National AI Committee, which I believe you're all familiar with, some significant announcements. I think the one that comes off the page to me is the ambition to be one of the top 3 in the world as an AI powerhouse, and this is within 3 years. That's a very ambitious goal. And to have that supported and sponsored by the president is a really big statement. Large flagship nationwide projects, whether that's around national adoption or building in the safety. One thing that we have found in the conversations, not just here, but across other countries, AI is too important not to regulate. But AI is also too important to regulate poorly. So having the right conversations, having the right laws and frameworks so that it's not trying to constrain something where you're missing out on, say, the competitive landscape globally, but at the same time, those controls are here to protect the people who are in the country. So that's achieved through a couple ways. Having the right support by Ministry of Science and ICT, so supporting these initiatives and administering them, and the laws that are being passed by the National Assembly. So those pillars that are coming together, we have a lot of, I think, hope and an expectation that this nation is going to move forward and be very strong in the AI space. So I'll finish with just one thing, and as a partner, Google has been in the business of building AI for our own products. We have a lot of things that we've built to run our business, and maybe you've used search and YouTube and maps and all the different products, but we've been building AI for a long time. And one of the things that we hold very closely is, one, we have research institutes. Those research institutes are not only looking for commercialization, but are looking for responsible AI. And so that's the DeepMind team. And we have about 3,000 people who are part of our AI research and development. So large investments in this space. So I want to thank you all very much. I want to hand over to our next speaker, but it's been a privilege to be here with you today. And I'll be here for a few minutes if there are any people who have questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your insightful presentation. 네, 크레이그 스터스 디렉터님께서 첫 번째 기조 연설 함께 해주셨습니다. 오늘 소중한 인사이트 전해주신 우리 디렉터님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 네.